Epic, boisterous, and unforgettable. How best can we describe the twists and turns of Andre 3000's music career? From dominating the rap game with OutKast to dropping killer hits like Hey Ya! But as his fame peaked, he took a nosedive, struggling deeply with anxiety and creativity pressure. But what really happened to this goated rapper? We're spilling it all up in this video. Stay tuned as we break down all the dark secrets that took Andre 3000 away from the spotlight. Andre 3000's rise to fame. Born as Andre Benjamin on May 27, 1975, in Atlanta, Georgia, the iconic rapper had a childhood that set him up to be one the world would remember for a long, long time. His mom, Sharon, was a single parent working hard to provide for the family, and little Andre soaked in everything he could about the ATL streets. But here's the twist. Andre wasn't just your average kid from the South. He was always on some next level thinking. While others were vibing to the latest tracks, young Andre was already plotting his next big move. By the time he entered high school, he met his soon-to-be partner, Big Boi, and together they sparked a fire that would become what we know as the OutKast. What's even crazier is that while most teens were stressing about grades, Andre and Big Boi were in their rooms crafting a whole new sound. They merged Southern swagger with funky beats, and before anyone knew it, OutKast was everybody's favorite jams. From freestyling in the halls to dropping bars that would shape the future of hip-hop, Andre 3000's journey into music seemed to be a straight-up destiny. The two high schoolers, Andre 3000, Benjamin, and Antoine Big Boi Patton, are vibing on a whole different level. They're both obsessed with hip-hop, even though they're from different worlds. But when they met at Tri-Cities High School, it was like destiny. Two rap nerds are connecting over beats and bars. They started out freestyling together, just messing around with words, but quickly realized they had something special. Their flow was tight, their chemistry was off the hook, and they knew they weren't like everyone else trying to break through in the music industry. They even tried out a few names before landing on OutKast, a perfect fit for two pals who always felt like outsiders. Their big breakthrough came when Organized Noise, the production squad that ran Atlanta's music scene, saw the potential in these two. They took Andre and Big Boi under their wing, helping them fine-tune their sound and land a deal with LaFace Records. Talk about leveling up? Well, here you go. When OutKast dropped Southern Playalistic Idyllic Music in 1994, it was like nothing the rap game had ever seen before. Southern beats, smart lyrics, smooth flows. It was all there. People got hooked on the song. From there, Andre 3000 and Big Boi just kept pushing boundaries and smashing their ceilings. This was only the beginning of their breakthrough. Then they released Players Ball, which was a total game changer. This one track announced their names to the world, a vibe so smooth it made everyone pay attention to the South. The album was certified platinum by the RIAA the same year, and OutKast was named Best New Rap Group of the Year at the 1995 Source Awards. Before this, ATL wasn't even on the map when it came to hip-hop. But after OutKast, it became the capital. On their next two albums, Atlians, 1996, and Aquemini, 1998, OutKast experimented with their sound by adding elements of trip-hop, soul, and jungle. The albums were also influenced by a return to traditional black music genres, with funk being the loudest. Their style and lyricism again received commercial and critical acclaim. Fast forward to 2000, they released their fourth album, Stankonia. And this is where things got wild. Ms. Jackson became an instant classic, but then you had Bombs Over Baghdad, a track so ahead of its time that it still slaps till today. The energy, the flow, the beats. It was like they broke open a whole new realm of sound. But their peak was when they released Speaker Box, The Love Below, in 2003. This double album was the real off of their versatility in the game. From Hey Ya to The Way You Move, it wasn't just off the hook. This album not only won them the Grammys, it crystallized OutKast as an icon in the music industry. peak of his career. When Stankonia was dropped in 2000, it was like an absolute bomb. Andre was experimenting with sounds and styles that nobody else was even thinking about. Bombs Over Baghdad, for instance, was so ahead of its time that it still sounds like it could go viral in today's world, with his straight bars over the high-energy beat. Then you got Ms. Jackson, a track that's become a cultural moment all on its own. Andre took the feeling of a breakup and turned it into something every generation can feel. Remember that, "Sorry, Ms. Jackson, no" line? Whether you've been through a breakup or not, it just hits differently. Andre made the feeling come alive by talking about his relationship with Erykah Badu in a way that was so relatable that everyone could vibe with it. Originally, Speakerboxxx, The Love Below was meant to be 2 separate albums, but Arista thought it wasn't suitable to release solo albums at the time. Big Boy's Speakerboxxx is a southern hip-hop and progressive rap album influenced by Parliament Funkadelic, while Andre 3000's The Love Below deviated from hip-hop and leaned on pop, funk, jazz, psychedelia, and progressive soul styles, drawing inspiration from one of his icons, Prince. While The Love Below was entirely produced by Andre 3000, Speakerboxxx featured contributions from Andre 3000, Mr. DJ, Carl Mo, Cutmaster Swift, and Dojo 5, in addition to production by Big Boy. The 2003 double album was on a whole other level. Andre came through with The Love Below, and it was like nothing anyone had ever heard before. All the songs in the album were spectacular, but let's be real. Hey Yeah was a home run. That track had everyone dancing like crazy, from hip-hop lovers to pop fans. It wasn't just a hit, it was a cultural reset, one to remember for ages. Speakerboxx's The Love Below received a lot of reactions from music critics, who praised the consistency of Big Boy's Speakerboxxx and the style of Andre 3000's The Love Below. Numerous publications said that the album was one of the best records of 2003, placing it on top of their year-end listings. Speakerboxxx XX, The Love Below, became OutKast's first #1 album on the US Billboard 200, with first week sales of 509,000 units, and went on to be certified diamond by the Recording Industry Association of America in December 2004. How's that for success?
OutKast is everlasting, not clashing, not at all. But see, my went to do a little acting. Now that's for anyone.
Despite his fame in the music world, Andre wasn't just about looking good and fresh. He was creating a new dress sense for the world to model. Remember those wild fits? The funky hats, bold colors, and insane patterns? Andre wasn't afraid to rock looks that nobody else would even think about. And that's exactly why everyone started paying attention to him. He made it cool to be different, to express yourself in a totally unique way. It seemed like he gave everyone permission to step outside the box and be themselves, no matter how funny or wild or unconventional it looked. Fast forward to today, and you see that same energy and fashion trends everywhere. From the streets to the runways, Andre's influence is still alive and kicking. He soon launched his brand called Benjamin Bixby Clothing Line in the spring of 2008, which was inspired by college football from the mid-1930s. From his influence in the music industry, he reinvented what it meant to be an artist. Whether he was spitting bars on tracks like B.O.B. or singing his heart out on Hey Ya, Andre created a whole new sound, mixing hip-hop with funk, jazz, rock, you name it. He made it look so effortless. He showed that you don't have to stick to one sound or one style. You can be as versatile and creative as you want, and the people will vibe with it. But Andre's influence goes beyond just music and fashion. His impact on art as a whole is enough to be up on the walls of fame. Singing seemed to be too small to contain his potential when he decided to explore the production niche. Benjamin began producing music on OutKast's ATLiens album, and later co-founded the production team Earth Tone III, which also consisted of Big Boy and Mr. DJ. On Speakerboxxx The Love Below, he evolved his production by playing multiple live instruments: keyboards, guitar, acoustic guitar, and tenor saxophone, all mixed. He has since contributed to outside production for Aretha Franklin, Frank Ocean, and Kids See Ghosts, among others. Everything seemed to be going all smooth and crispy for the rapper until his whole life took a different turn. The Vanishing Act. Why did Andre, 3000's, disappear? After a long run of success and fame, all of a sudden, the name Andre 3000 began to fade from mainstream music. The music star has almost completely retreated from the public eye. While his OutKast partner Big Boi's solo career soared higher and higher, Andre more or less retired from music, except for a brief OutKast reunion at 2014 Coachella, some random singles, and a couple of guest verses. It's the early 2010s, and Andre 3000 suddenly goes into ghost mode. No new music, no big appearances, nothing. Theories started popping up everywhere as to the reason for his disappearance. Some fans thought maybe he was just tired of the music industry and needed a break. Others thought he was working on a super secret project. And of course, some people assumed that he was just living his best life off the grid. His absence left a huge gap, and it made people start thinking about how much Andre 3000 meant to the culture. Fans had only seen some rare glimpses of him, like when he'd drop an unexpected feature.
Hey guys, hey, I'm putting down with you. Get down with you though. Big got it. What's wrong with you?
Each time, it felt to his fans like seeing a unicorn. It only signaled that Andre was still around, still doing his thing, just on his own terms. Andre 3000 has scaled back his music career to a series of small wins. Think, one-off singles and guest verses. But that doesn't mean he's completely put his life as an entertainer behind him. Fans have been asking Andre 3000 for a solo record since OutKast's 2007 hiatus, but that was something that may never happen. Andre seems to have developed an intense anxiety about releasing new music. But can you blame him? The star won some Grammys with Speaker Box Sock, The Love Below, and even won Album of the Year, a feat no other rap group has been able to accomplish since. But his art was regularly falling apart. In 2016, a writer for Pitchfork had a caustic enough hatred toward OutKast's Idlewild, the group's widely panned swan song, and that alone threw him off his balance. As time went on, he started dropping clues about what was really going on behind the scenes. In interviews and his music, he's talked about feeling overwhelmed and dealing with his mental health in ways that aren't always easy to talk about. One major moment was his interview on the Boondocks. In this interview, Andre got real about feeling trapped and the pressure of constantly being in the limelight. He spoke about how fame can mess with your mind and how he struggled with the idea of maintaining a perfect image while dealing with his own issues. It was like he was peeling back the curtain on the darker side of fame, showing fans that even someone as legendary as him isn't immune to mental health challenges. And then there's his music. Tracks like A Life in the Day of Benjamin Andre from The Love Below have moments that hint at his inner battles. It's not always in your face, but there are vibes of feeling out of place or battling with deep emotions. You can hear it in the way he delivers his lines, like channeling his own experiences into his art. After much probing as to his sudden disappearance, Benjamin finally opened up to the public. He said this in an interview with Ruben. "I haven't been making much music. My focus is not there. My confidence is not there. I tinker a lot. I would just go to my piano, sit my iPhone down, and record what I was doing. Move my fingers around. I haven't been motivated enough to do a serious project. I'd like to, but it's just not coming." During the conversation, Andre also shared that he was diagnosed with social anxiety and hypersensitivity disorder a few years ago, which has had an impact on his mental health. Andre did release 2 solo songs sometime in 2018, Me and My, and Look Ma No Hands. Though these tracks were dedicated to his mother, who passed away in 2013, they only seem to point largely at his existing anxieties. In a 2019 interview with the Broken Record podcast, He admitted saying, "Any little thing I put out, it's instantly attacked. People nitpick it with a fine-tooth comb. That's not a great place to create from, and it makes you draw back. Maybe I don't have the confidence that I want, or the space to experiment like I used to." So the fear of people's criticism crippled Benjamin's muse, to the point where he just couldn't gather himself to record a song. I'm sure every creative watching video can relate to this, right? Especially when the backlash comes from the people who once had faith in your art. In recent years, Andre's been even more transparent. He's mentioned in interviews and social media posts that he's been focusing on his mental health and just trying to find a balance.
Her attitude is potty. When I met her at a party, she was hardly acting naughty. I said, "Shawty, would you call me?" She said, "Pardon me, are you naughty?"
Though Andre 3000 is anxious to release new music, that doesn't mean he hasn't really been trying to make new music. It's just unlikely that we're going to hear it. He might just stack them up somewhere in his closet. The star has spent his time behind the scenes tinkering, trying to find his sound, and every attempt finds him hitting a brick wall. His writer's block got severe enough that the Grammy-winning artist thought about hanging his boots altogether. During an interview with the Broken Record podcast via Rolling Stone, Andre told Rick Rubin that he's questioning whether he's even supposed to make music at all. You can bet on it. This is the scariest place any writer can be in. So you won't entirely blame the artist for choosing his sanity over the cheers of the crowd. Andre 3000's biggest hurdle seems to be his confidence. The star is widely regarded as one of the greatest, most innovative rappers of all time. But he doesn't think he's all that talented. Instead, he's been spending his time on something else, which we will cover later in this video. If anything, Andre is proof that you can win a Grammy and rock shiny boots on the big stage, yet still suffer from imposter syndrome. As if these weren't trauma too much for Andre to take in, he lost both parents in the time between OutKast's last album, Idlewild, and his string of singles in 2018. Till today, he's understandably still struggling to deal with his grief. In his 2017 interview with GQ, the rapper revealed that he was in a hole when he signed on to star in 2013's Jimmy. All is by my side, and a huge part had to do with his parents passing because his mom was everything to him. Andre 3000 ended up experiencing two waves of grief for his dad. First, it was the loss, and second, it was realizing his father died alone in his home. The dark secrets, what he's been hiding? In a 2017 interview with GQ, Andre opened up about the weight of expectations on his shoulders, saying, "I always felt like I was trying to prove something to people." This quote gives us a glimpse into Dre's mind. He was dealing with an immense amount of pressure to live up to the legend he was called and created to be. And honestly, it wasn't just pressure from the fans, but from himself too. His close friend, Big Boy, has mentioned how Andre was always the one pushing boundaries, constantly trying to reinvent himself and the sound of OutKast. But with that drive came a lot of stress. Big Boy once said in an interview, "Dre's always been the one to overthink. He's a perfectionist, and that can be a gift and a curse." He's also spoken to other interviewers about feeling disconnected and his struggle with depression. He said in a conversation with Rick Rubin on the Broken Record podcast that he wasn't making music anymore because he didn't feel like he had anything left to say. That's wild, right? I mean, this is the guy who gave us Hey Ya and Rosa Parks that left us dancing our hearts out. And now he's saying he's got nothing to say? But it only got deeper from here. Some of his closest friends have also confirmed that Andre's withdrawal from the spotlight wasn't just about needing a break. It was about protecting his mental health. He's been pretty open about feeling uncomfortable with fame. In another GQ in the interview, he mentioned how fame can be isolating and how he's always struggled with attention. "I was getting weird energy from people," he said, "and I don't like feeling like I'm putting on a show."
Yeah, it's not even like, I don't even like going to the studio and just hanging out with niggas smoking all day. You know, I just don't.
It's gotta be weird to have all that energy directed toward.
Now, here's a part that has been the subject of gossip for years: his relationship with Erykah Badu. Back in the late 90s, These two were the model couple for the younger generation. But when they broke up, it hit Dre harder than he imagined. Some say that split changed him forever. Erica has even hinted that their relationship took a toll on both of them, emotionally and mentally. But they had to do what was best for both of them, whatever that means. In an interview with The New Yorker, Erica said, "Dre and I were so close, so connected, that it was hard for us to untangle ourselves from each other. We're both sensitive people, and we felt everything so deeply." Their breakup wasn't just about love lost. It was about two artists who were almost too intense for each other. And that intensity left its mark on Dre, both personally and artistically. Around the time OutKast hit the spotlight after dropping Speakerboxxx XXI, The Love Below, Dre was at the height of his fame. However, the music industry isn't exactly known for being kind to artists, especially those who don't fit into the popular expectation. And Dre has always been one to break the mold, but that comes with a price. He's talked about how exhausting it was to constantly push boundaries and try to top what he'd already done. The success of Speakerboxxx, The Love Below, was both a blessing and a curse. It won all the awards and sold millions of copies, but it also left Dre feeling like, what's next? He's mentioned how the pressure to keep innovating took a toll on him, making it harder for him to just enjoy creating music with the inner pressure to create a banger. In a Rolling Stone interview, he said, "I got to a point where I felt like I was just spinning my wheels. It wasn't fun anymore. And when making music stops being fun for an artist like Andre 3000, we know that's when the dark clouds start to roll in." So what happened after that? Why did Andre 3000 just vanish from the music scene? Well, here's where things get a little murky. Some people close to him have suggested that Dre's disappearance was a form of self-preservation. He needed to step away before the industry completely broke him down. And there were rumors about him retreating to his home in Atlanta, spending his days painting, playing instruments, and just staying out of the public eye. He's even been spotted randomly playing his flute in airports and parks. It's like he's become this wandering artist, just gliding through life and moving at his own pace, far away from the pressures of the industry. Speaking of the flute, fans have been buzzing recently about how Dre's been spotted playing his flute in random places. At first, it appeared like he was only showing off, but then it became clear this was Dre's way of finding peace. It felt like using the flute as a form of meditation, a way to connect with himself and the world around him.
Yeah, it's like
away from the
I
noise of
love
fame.
it now. Like I want to know
He even
more
claims
about
to have
it.
over 30
How
instruments.
many wind instruments do you have now?
I haven't counted, but I'd say maybe 30.
Each gives you a different sound, a different feeling?
Yes.
But with all this mystery comes controversy. Some fans and critics have called out Andre for being selfish or out of touch for stepping away from the spotlight. They argue that he owes it to his fans to keep making music and to keep being that voice in the culture. But others defend him, saying that he doesn't owe anyone anything and that his mental health should come first. What has Andre 3000 been up to? Contrary to most public and media opinions, Dre hasn't really been idle all through his mysterious years of disappearance. He has been able to fix his hands on other areas of interest. Andre swapped the mic for the camera for a while, and even though he wasn't in the spotlight as much, he was still making moves. Not to mention that the rapper has shown OutKast's fame into the incredibly undervalued Cartoon Network series, Class of 3000. In it, Andre plays a music teacher who exposes his class to adventures and a new appreciation for their respective instruments. He produced the entire album, provided vocals, and yes, even rapped. A decade later, the album is still as innovative and replayable as it was in 2007. He also featured in Four Brothers in 2005. This was one of his first major acting gigs, and he played alongside some big names, like Mark Wahlberg and Tyrese Gibson. Andre took on the role of Jeremiah Mercer, one of the four adopted brothers seeking revenge for their mother's murder. His performance had people talking, and it was clear He had some serious actor genes flowing in his veins. But Andre wasn't just about action flicks. In 2008, he took on the role of Jimi Hendrix in the biopic, Jimmy, All Is By My Side. This was a big deal because playing a legend like Hendrix isn't easy. The movie focused on Hendrix's early years before he became a rock legend, and Andre's performance was praised for its authenticity. He wasn't just acting, he was channeling Hendrix, showing off his versatility as an artist. In addition to his film roles, Andre made some appearances on TV, like his guest spot on the hit series American Crime in 2016. He played Michael LaCroix, a wealthy architect whose family gets caught up in a major scandal. It was another chance for Andre to showcase his range, stepping into a dramatic role that was far from the persona fans were used to. Aside from casting in movies, Andre didn't entirely leave the music scene, but he's been only dropping guest appearances here and there, leaving fans wondering what exactly he's really up to. First up, in Frank Ocean's Pink Matter. Now Frank's already on another level, but when Dre hopped on that track, it was like the universe aligned or something. He didn't just feature, he elevated the whole vibe. His verse was deep, introspective, and just smooth as silk. Plus, his collab with Kid Cudi on By Design. Dre's flow was effortless. He just walked into the booth and casually dropped one of the best verses of the year. He's got this way of blending into any track and making it his own. Almost like the song wouldn't be complete without him. And who could forget his verse on Anderson .Paak's Come Home? Dre came in so smooth and soulful. Plus, he still has that Andre 3000 vibe, and the way he delivered those lines was just a chef's kiss. It's the kind of verse that makes you stop and listen over again. But hold up, Dre wasn't just about these guest appearances. He's been on this whole mysterious artist vibe too. Like, who randomly plays a flute in public spaces? Andre was caught casually strolling around with a flute. He's been spotted in places like airports and streets, just vibing, playing his instrument like it's the most normal thing in the world. Another sighting that had fans buzzing was when he showed up at a random Target in LA. The dude was just there, looking chill as ever, wearing overalls and shopping like other normal humans. But of course, when you're Andre 3000, you can't go anywhere without being recognized. People were taking pics, and the internet blew up. It's wild, because it reminds us how down to earth he is, even though he's a literal legend. He has also been seen randomly appearing at a laundromat in Philly. No entourage, no fanfare, just Dre being Dre fans, who were lucky enough to be there, couldn't believe their eyes. Some even said he was super chill and took the time to chat. Moments, it's like these make him feel larger than life, even though he's not as loud as in the late 90s. The public's reactions. As we've discussed before, Andre has been open about his struggles with anxiety and the pressures of fame. Fans picked up on this and began to speculate that his retreat from the public eye was a way for him to protect his mental health. This theory gained some traction on Twitter and Reddit after his candid interviews, where he discussed feeling disconnected from the music industry and his battle with self-doubt. Social media was flooded with posts supporting Andre's decision to step back, with many fans applauding his choice to prioritize his well-being over the demands of fame. A lot of fans were pouring down comments about how electrifying his lyrics are and hoping that he will bounce back soon. A fan wrote on Reddit, "He was ahead of his time on subject matter, flows, creative ideas. His vulnerability, could rap and produce, and was the first rapper to make a singing album, which inspired 808s and Heartbreaks, which inspired Drake and a plethora of new era rapping." Another fan wrote, "He seems like a genuine good person, and I wish nothing but happiness to him. But him being interviewed in a laundromat and he released an album of just wind instruments, that Key and Peele sketch of him doesn't seem too far off." Another popular opinion is that Andre simply got tired of the spotlight and wanted to live a more private, low-key life. This theory is supported by his random appearances in everyday settings, like when he was spotted playing the flute, including airports and parks. These sightings sparked a trend on social media, with fans sharing their Andre 3000 flute sightings and interpreting them as signs that he's living life on his own terms.
I love that it's happening. Like, I don't regret any of that, but it's kind of like now that I'm at a certain level, I miss certain things about normalcy, and like I'm an only child, so I've always kind of been to myself anyway.
The randomness of these appearances only fueled the idea that Andre was done with the structured demands of celebrity life and was instead embracing a more spontaneous, carefree existence. But it didn't just end there. There's the thought that Andre's creative spirit pushed him away from mainstream music. Some fans believe that Andre felt boxed in by the expectations of the music industry and decided to take a step back to explore other creative outlets. This seems more credible, as he paid more attention to other fields, like acting and fashion, and even his animated series, Class of 3000. Fans on Instagram and TikTok have praised Andre for staying true to himself and refusing to be pigeonholed by the industry. Some artists have expressed their admiration for Andre's decision to step back. In an industry that barely cares if you're drowning or barely pushing through, Andre's choice to prioritize his mental health and personal happiness has been met with so much respect. Artists like Kendrick Lamar and Childish Gambino have publicly acknowledged Andre as a major influence on their work. And they've spoken about how his willingness to step away has set an important example. Well, we can simply say Andre knew what was best for him, and he went for it, regardless of what the media says. Even though that took a toll on his fame and popularity, who cares about that when your life's at stake? Potential, comeback. Will Andre 3000 return? So, here's the million-dollar question. Will Andre 3000 ever make a comeback? We're talking about one of the most iconic and mysterious figures in hip-hop. So naturally, fans are dying to know if he will ever touch his peak of fame once again, seeing the big names that now flood the music industry. Well, we can find clues to that. Every so often, Andre pops up with a guest feature that leaves fans hungry for more. His verse on Frank Ocean's solo Reprise in 2016 was impossible to forget. Also, he was featured on Come Home by Anderson .Paak in 2019, which had everyone pumped up. Every time he drops a verse, it's like a breadcrumb, leading his fans to wonder if a full-on comeback is around the corner. But here's the thing. Andre has been pretty open about his struggles with the idea of making new music. In interviews, he's talked about how the pressure to live up to his past work can be paralyzing. He's mentioned that he's constantly questioning whether anything he creates now can match the high bar he set with OutKast. And let's be real, when you've made albums like Aquemini and Stankonia, that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. Now, there's also the fact that Andre seems to be in a different place in life now. He said he doesn't feel the same drive to create music that he once did. In a 2019 interview with Rick Rubin, Andre admitted that he struggles with the idea of making new music because he feels disconnected from the current music scene. He mentioned that he's more interested in other forms of creativity, like acting or even just living a more laid-back life out of the spotlight. That being said, we can't ignore the fact that he's still out there creating, just in different ways. His flute playing, for instance. It may not be your typical comeback, but it does show that he's still connected to music in his way, even if it's not the kind of music making you might expect. And let's not forget about the influence of nostalgia. We're living in an era where 90s and early 2000s culture is making a huge comeback, and artists from that time are being rediscovered by younger generations. If Andre ever did decide to drop new music, the timing couldn't be better. The world is ready, and honestly, it might just be a matter of Andre finding the right inspiration or project that feels authentic to him. When we talk about Andre 3000's possible comeback, it's easy to draw parallels with D'Angelo. Remember how D'Angelo vanished from the music scene after his 2000 album Voodoo? For over a decade, fans wondered if he'd ever return to mainstream music. especially after he'd become a neo-soul icon with just 2 albums. Like Andre, D'Angelo struggled with the pressures of fame, personal challenges, and the weight of expectations. Then, in 2014, out of nowhere, D'Angelo dropped Black Messiah, and it was as though he never left. So fans of Andre 3000 see a similar possibility. If he ever does come back, it could be with something completely unusual and game-changing, much like D'Angelo's return.